What we are diving into today is a claim so ambitious and ethically terrifying, it makes accidentally joining a cult while looking for a gym look like a responsible Saturday afternoon. We are of course talking about the claim that human behavior itself can be simulated and predicted at scale. A Silicon Valley startup called Simile says their tech can forecast how customers react to products, how voters respond to policies, and even what Wall Street analysts will ask on earnings calls. They're claiming 80% accuracy, which to be fair, is roughly the same success rate I have at guessing which pull door is actually a push door. I hope you enjoyed that little one. Anyway, these are massive promises with terrifying implications for business, politics, and the very concept of free will. So we are asking, what is actually being built? What data is being shoveled into this maw? And is this genuine predictive power or just a very expensive game of guess who? To help us untangle this nightmare, we are joined by journalist, our very own brilliant Supreet Kondinia, who has been investigating Similey's origins and what's actually happening beneath this very shiny, exciting algorithmic surface. Welcome to the show, Supreet.
Hello, Sudhi.
Are you terrified enough to get into this conversation?
No, okay, not terrified. It's pretty fun.
Because you have been, of course, exploring
yes.
this for a very long time.
Yes,
I would like for you to first please tell us in terms of what is the $100 million for.
Yep.
Got it? So, second thing is the fact that what is Simile?
Right.
And how is it different?
Right. I think to start off with, it is very different. It's unlike anything we've seen before. I'm sure you can resonate with it, given you've not covered such kind of a news in
never
is the right one. So yeah, they've got $100 million funding from Fifili and D'Angelo of Quora, and of course Andre Karpathy, whose news that you just shared with our audience, and then we've got Bain Capital, bunch of investors. But the interesting part is now they're betting on this thesis that LLMs can't effectively mimic or simulate a human behavior, right?
Okay.
And no human is the same human.
Sure.
And if I were to quote Andre Karpathy, he got this brilliant analogy that, LLMs that you talk to, that businesses use, almost often have a single personality, right?
Which is true.
But they're trained on a diverse set of data that
Right.
can include like millions of people's voices, their thoughts, their specific personalities.
True.
So why not build an AI platform that leverages this, and I quote, statistical power, right? Why don't you build an LLM that brings a lot more specific voices, a lot more nuance, a lot more differentiation? This is exactly what Simile AI does. It is an AI platform that helps companies or users let it behave like a human. Now I'll tell you why this is important, why they got $100 million, of course. So now user research is such an important process of product building, right? Whenever you integrate or plan to build a new feature in your product, you need to know whether the users like it. Your product might not just have one type of user, right? You might have a teenager to a grandmother.
True.
And the dominant population of your users could still be the middle-aged folks.
Sure.
You need to do a lot of user research. This involves bringing a lot of focus groups, asking questions to a lot of people, and that's tiring. More than tiring, it's very time-consuming. With this day and age where people are just rushing to release products, why not use an AI to do that?
Right.
So what Simile AI does is that it gets you a lot of human personas that you can ask questions to and get unique insights.
But then tell me this.
Right.
There are personas,
Right.
correct? These are generated personas, am I right?
Yes.
So then there is a slight gap then, Supreet,
Exactly.
in terms of the actual human response
Right.
vis-a-vis a generated response.
Right.
Will that make it accurate, not accurate, hallucinate, or give out, spew out data which is not very relevant?
Right, great question. I think that's one thing that immediately popped into my mind. Like, how is this any different from an LLM?
Yes.
Right, LLMs also pretend to be a particular user persona.
Correct.
But if you dig deep into how this works, and the man himself, Joon Sung Park, has been doing research on this since 2022. So I'll tell you how they did it. Your first question you asked, how do we know that this persona is coming from a real voice?
Yeah.
So while building their product, and I quote, he said in an interview with another media outlet today, he's gotten interviews with like millions of real users, right? And he's taken down how they would react to specific situations,
Okay.
and how would they respond to a particular survey. And this is the crux of the data set, or the base with which the model works, right? the intelligence of the data is extracted from conversations from real humans. One experiment that they did recently, a few years ago, is that they spoke to 1052 participants in a survey. They took all of their responses and trained 1052 AI agent personas.
Okay.
Meaning each participant had an AI agent assigned to them.
Fair enough.
Then they retrained the AI agent again for a second round just to ensure everything is fine. And then when they sent the 1052 trained AI agents to perform a bunch of other surveys and compared their performance and their outputs to the outputs that the 1052 actual humans did, it came frighteningly close with 85% accuracy.
Very interesting.
Right? And now what this leads to is that now you have these agentic personas that behave like real humans.
Right.
Now you have the answer of how they are trained. Two, these don't work like fine-tuned LLMs or something where instructions are lost. Consider each agent as something that has an isolated data of its own.
Okay.
It does not know what agent B is thinking about. It does not know what agent C's persona is. There's not a lot of mix-up going on.
Sure.
Right? So I'll just keep it short.
So they're in silos.
Exactly,
in a way,
they're in
right?
silos.
Right.
And each time it responds to an answer, it does not just go and work the way LLMs do.
Right.
It works through memory, right? It sort of gets back all of its previous responses. It takes a pause, reflects on it, ensures that the information it's fetching is contextually relevant to this question, just like me and you think.
Right.
The moment you're asking me a question, you're going back to, okay, what was this news about? How recent is it? How recent?
You're connecting the dots.
Exactly.
Right.
It exactly is trained to behave like a human. A lot of reflection. I think our producers are going to put a graphic here which shows the loop of there's a lot of reflection going on. There's a lot of data.
That was your way of questioning their efficiency right now. Man.
No.
I like it.
Because that graph is really important for our viewers.
Right. So it will come eventually.
Exactly. Yes. So there's a lot of reflection. There's a lot of cyclic work going on. It's not like you punch in a prompt and you get an answer. There's no randomization. It's very specific. And look, I might not have done a great job of explaining it, but for the folks who are interested, I think we're going to link the entire research paper. And yeah, but there's also another crazy game
but I
that
wanted
they sort
to
of did
understand
with it.
this.
So,
I mean, when you talked about 1052 and I
Right.
connected to the kind of, maybe the other kind of
Yes.
research experiments which have taken place to kind of bring this to life.
Yes.
One thing I want to add to that is how will it behave when you replicate it at a mass scale?
Exactly.
1052,
Right.
lesser number.
Right.
But then when you kind of blow it up at a mass scale,
Right.
Supreet, and of course also I'd like you to tell us.
Right. Before we get that, I'll answer your question. So let's say you're a company. I'll give you a few examples. So companies have already seemed to use, that's the interesting point. Before they've raised funding, they've gotten companies to use their tool.
Okay.
That's a big enough
Which is a
signal.
good thing.
And these are really good companies. We've had CVS, the leading pharma chain in US. We've got Telstra, the leading Australian telecom company. And what happens is when they're doing a user research, right? They ask the Simile AI platform, look, spin up a user persona who's like a 75-year-old man, and Simile AI will generate a persona based on the training and the data sets that it has. That agent will exactly behave like a 75-year-old man. How his lifestyle is going to be.
Right.
He's not the most tech savvy and not the most tech crazy folks. He's
Fair.
someone who's grounded. He needs everything properly. You don't need tire him out. So you have that user persona, and he's going to exactly behave the way a 75-year-old man would, right? And so the scale is going to be purely based on the 1052 agents, because these are 1052 different personas.
Got it.
And these are more than enough personas for that a company sort of needs.
Okay.
Exactly. At best, you're dealing with like 7-8 kind of personas where in your user research process, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
So the agent is going to spin up the personas, and it's going to ask, let you communicate with it, know the agent's preferences and so on. One other example is the founder gave is that during earnings call, right? Not investors, the executives, the CEOs, the CTOs, CPOs, they're asked a lot of questions from different kind of analysts, right?
Right.
You can spin up personas of analysts and the different kind of media folks and predict well in advance what kind of questions that they would ask, right? Based on the history of questions that they've asked, based on how that persona would specifically behave in the situation. So you're ready. You sort of know what kind of questions are going to come your way.
But tell me
Yeah.
this here, Supreet, this comes to my mind. when you talked about, let's say, the 75-year-old man, when you
Right.
talked about the analyst, when you
Right.
talked about
Right.
all of those factors, are we not falling into a situation where we are also just looking at these as cliches which are putting these personas together? Because there is no sort of a nuanced, is there a nuanced, for
Right.
example, flavor to them?
Right.
Or is it just generic methods that are being followed?
Right. No, of course, there's going to be a certain degree of nuance, because if and I again once again would like to quote Joonsung Park in his interview. He said, "We've trained this model with millions of voices." And here's the most interesting part: the AI agents in Simile, if I read right, they're capable of performing interviews on their own. And I believe that they're going to continue taking interviews, the AI agents themselves,
Because
build more and more personas.
You got to keep doing
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Personas keep evolving, right?
Right, exactly.
You introduce a new technology to someone today, their persona is going to change. True. They might buy a new phone today, they might buy the latest iPhone, and their persona is going to change given the kind of features that they're exposed
Absolutely,
to.
Yeah.
So obviously, I am 100% sure there's going to be a continuous process. As you mentioned, it's going to be
an ever evolving
of no use if the personas and the model weights and data sets aren't updated. I'm sure that's going to happen.
Right.
There's explicit mentioning that the AI agents are capable of autonomously taking interviews, creating a persona on its own.
Oh, nice.
And then just getting the job done. But again, these are early days. We just have dense reports and research that he's done since last 2 years. This seems like a lot of huge work in progress. So, but if I have time, Sudhi, I'd like to talk about an interesting project that we do.
Please.
So, you've played Sims, right? From EA Sports. I think a lot of our audience viewers. So it's basically a simulated environment where you just simulate the real world. There's a boy, there's a girl, there's someone who owns a cafe. It's just a game.
It could be a dog and a cat.
Exactly.
Why are you leaving them out?
Exactly. So it's just a simulated game where you just play a real world. I don't know why that makes sense, because you'd want to escape the real world to play games, but that on another day. So what they did was they built something called a Smallville. They put 25 agents with each of them having a different persona.
Not loaded at all to call it Smallville, no?
Exactly. Exactly. So there's a pharmacist, there's a teacher, there's an old man, there's a student. 25 different personas. They're placed in a town, right? They're like interact freely.
Okay.
Each of the persona is seeded with specific instructions and details about itself, and they're told now you just start communicating.
Sure.
The brilliant part is that when they started interacting, because of how the model was built, right? I told you there's this loop of they take a prompt, they relay it through its own memory, fetch relevant details. They don't behave like a standard LLM. They found out that they started behaving like real humans.
Wow.
Without any explicit instructions that behave like a human with ChatGPT or any tool. I don't
Moltbook, I mean that entire Moltbook Reddit angle, is it?
That's another. But again, that's just to test their autonomous capabilities. But here, just really want them to behave like humans. I'll give you a few examples, right? One agent started running as a mayor for the town.
Nice.
Because the agent realized it has the experience, whatnot, the age, and how much he liked the town based on the instructions. And guess what? This agent's plan to run as a mayor started spreading as a gossip in the Smallville virtual town, right? And then someone tried to organize a Valentine's Day party for their partner. And guess what? Other agents started pitching in and just started giving gifts to each other.
There was a sense of bonhomie that came in.
Exactly. They started behaving like humans, and that was a clear enough signal for the founders and researchers that look, our underlying model
is utopian humans.
Exactly.
Because there were no serial killers who suddenly propped up.
Of course. If there were, I don't think they'd report. But anyway, I mean, that was a good enough signal that their model and their techniques sort of worked. They were able to get LLMs to behave like a human angles. So I kept talking about the loop. They factor in recency, relevancy, and importance. Based on these three factors is when they sort of give the output, and they continuously reflect based on the situation whether their output is fine enough, and they keep planning.
But tell me this, Supreet. I mean, you talked about these three factors, importance. You talked about reflection. You talked about they're constantly, working well with each other as a team. Pretty much like you and I do. I had to slide that in. But no, what I have to ask you is this: in conclusion, is why would this help? Let's say companies. Why would this help customers? Why? Finally, that is the end goal. So, what would you say that this entire mammoth of an operation is being built towards?
Right, of course. So, I am not a business owner.
Not yet.
No.
long life to go, yeah, Supreet.
So let me quote Shrikant Narasimhan, who is the VP of Enterprise Customer Experience at CVS Health, leading healthcare and pharma firm in US. I'll just read out his quote. With Simile, we don't need to fail fast in front of customers. We can fail safely in a controlled environment.
Okay.
Teams can test, learn and refine until they're confident it's ready for the real world. So what happens is that when it comes to A/B testing, when you want to test out a new feature, you can't do it in silos. You have to expose a group of beta users or a bunch of larger group of users or even focus groups to sort of help them get a first-hand experience of what your new feature is about. And you would not want to fail in front of them.
Sure.
That is one issue that might not be significant, but it takes a lot of time and effort to get these people together, roll out, and you need to, focus groups are a very hard task. I've spoken to UX researchers before,
sure.
I've spoken to market folks before. You can at best what, get 100 people in a room?
Yeah.
Do you think that 100 people could be a good enough extrapolation of the billion user community that everybody wants to build for? Right now, everybody wants everybody to use their application, right? So why not have an environment where AI agents can simulate human behavior? When you can spin up a unique human persona to an AI agent itself and let it act as a human. So within your laptop, within your desktop, you can put your idea, you can put your product feature,
Understood.
you get feedback
So
quickly.
it works with pharma,
Exactly.
for example, moving forward.
Exactly.
It will work with, let's say, defense. It will
Exactly.
work with so many other...
Exactly. Yeah, starting off with, of course, you can do little things like, okay, how do I reorganize my product menus?
Sure,
Would
sure,
you like
sure.
it? Like, hey, we did a new front page redesign, right?
Right. It's
we
nice,
have,
no?
Yeah, and we have like
You want to ask Smallville?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Smallville. We're like what, 2.6 lakh subscribers and growing every day with
true.
thousands and 10,000 more.
2.7, I was just
Exactly,
told.
2.7 lakh, great.
They're very particular about this.
So why don't we get, Simile to sort of ask them, right, something more consequential. Hey, we're experimenting with this new format. Do you think they will like it? Do you think you're going to like it?
Makes sense.
So this helps you speed up your product decisions, and the accuracy they're talking about is 85%. So 85% a match to exact human behavior.
But also very quickly, Supreet, it's very interesting that, with minds like Fifi Lee and Andre Karpathy being a part of this entire ecosystem, because they are very beautiful different minds. They're thread-bearing, let's say, a GPT. They're making things legible.
Of course.
So when they kind of come into something, there is something very revolutionary afoot.
Exactly. That itself, your investors sometimes are a big testament that your product is a legitimate idea. That is one thing, but if you look at the founder himself, again, I need to keep repeating this, he's been doing this since 2022. They're like a huge...
So have you?
Yeah.
Investigating this.
Investigating. 9 a.m. today. So they've had a comprehensive 250-page research report out there with each of their experiments, and it's a very novel idea, right? Because look, tomorrow you can think in your own mind what apps I need to build, right? What products I need to build.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
At the end of the day, you need to know what your users really want.
Absolutely, I agree.
The best part is that what users want also isn't straightforward, because Henry Ford once said, I don't know if he actually said, but this is the thing that keeps doing the rounds. If you ask people what they'd actually want in life, they'd say, I need faster horses, right? So user research is a very comprehensive process. It's not a black and white, hey, so what AI product that you want, you can't just say, tell me like, hey, you know what, I need a faster AI chatbot. That's probably not what you want to, what you want in life. As opposed to me asking you 10 questions, 15 questions, analyze your persona, go back and do my homework, then I unearth that, you know what, Sudhi has this missing in his AI workflow. I don't want to build this to him.
Got it. You got another report. I want you to share that. There was another quote, right?
Yep, exactly.
A testimonial is what I meant.
Yeah, exactly. Wealthfront, another firm who already have used Simile said that they expanded their qualitative research. Again, this is qualitative research. I stress on the word qualitative because opinions, perspectives, thoughts, insights of human beings can't be put on an Excel sheet.
True.
You need to get their behavior out. And he said, this Simile expanded our qualitative research scope by 15 times without losing depth. Speaking with their simulated customers, AI customers, helps us quickly identify areas of opportunity for ongoing research. Again, these are testimonials on Simile's website. Of course, they're going to be positive.
Which is fine, but the fact is, if you were to conclude this, let's say, Supreet, in let's say a couple of lines.
Right.
It is early days, agreed.
Right.
But how would you like to conclude this development of a simile being backed by big names?
Exactly. It works in a way where, you know, anyone who's building AI, Simile is a big gift for them, because your product is worthless if you don't know who your users are,
Sure.
what your users need. So it sort of goes hand in hand. Today, if Andre Karpathy and Fifi Lee are building any sort of products or any sort of research, they'd probably love a tool like Simile to sort of understand what their customers, what their potential, you know, human users would need. So I think in this day and age, user research is paramount. It's a new technology. People, the population hasn't seen this before, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So user research is paramount. It's super important. You need to know what your users want. While you refine, do you know if your user wants the latest LLM or he just wants a better user interface, right? You need to
Agreed.
You need to do a lot of work talking to users. Users are forefront. Every single dollar that's being
It wipes away
Exactly.
that long, laborious work.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. We talk so much about data centers, chips, GPUs,
sure,
models, parameters, research papers. End of it, every single thing boils down to what me and you hold in our hand. It's gotten, it abstracts into
Needs to be
this-
tangible.
Yeah,
no?
it abstracts on this just thing that people like me and you use in their daily life. All of those investments are towards the end user. Your media reports, your investors, all of that is of course there, but users are paramount. Simile is to understand your users, and if you don't understand your users, everything
What's
is just
the
going to
point?
come crashing
Yeah.
down. I think that's
Makes
exactly
sense.
what you want
Fair
Simile
enough.
for.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Supreet, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. A lot of ramblings, but we'll be sure
No.
to include.
I think a lot of interesting
It's a
insights
new
as well.
technology. I think it's
Yeah.
really interesting. It's really crazy and fun to sort of read up about
so
it.
sorry, but the graphic never came up. Sorry, you
That's
need to
all
mull
right.
over that. But
That's all right. We're gonna-
ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Supreet with his wonderful insights as always. And I feel that what he's talked about is the next revolution maybe. So we'd love to know what you feel in the comments below about Simile doing it with a smile. Think AI, think AI.
Think AI.